I'm Brendan Gulick. Welcome to Buckeye Breakdown. And why don't we start there? Because C.J. Stroud, I think, is the focal point of today's discussion. You know, Ryan Day has said time and time again, CJ's the guy. He won the quarterback battle. This is the guy we want to go forward with. And you know, we're conditioned to trust Ryan Day as one of the best quarterbacks coaches in the country. And his work with, you know, recent Ohio State Buckeye quarterbacks continues to prove he knows what he's doing. But we had just seen enough small growing pains, frustrations, whatever you want to call them. We'd seen enough things with CJ Stroud these first few games that left us wanting a little bit more. And we've said maybe it's recency bias, maybe it's expectations that are too high for a redshirt freshman, whatever it was. Today's CJ Stroud makes you feel like, as a Buckeye fan, that this team has national championship aspirations because he was unbelievably good today.
Well, I think the biggest thing that we struggle with, just maybe, you know, as media and fans, is the fact that we don't get to see what goes on in practice. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I've been pretty hard on CJ because I've expected, and I mean, I think he is a great quarterback. He wouldn't have been one of the most sought after quarterbacks in the country, you know, coming out of high school if he wasn't. And they wouldn't have those same expectations that are attached to him right now if he wasn't that good. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things that we look back and see how Justin Fields was performing in his first year, and I think he had that extra benefit of playing in those games during his freshman year, whereas CJ did not. So that, you know, it seemed to be like that might have not been a big deal coming into the season, but then once he gets into those games and, you know, he doesn't have any action, those first 3 or 4 games, he's still learning, and I think that that's the biggest thing that we kind of have to learn. So, you know, like I said, I'll be the first to admit that, you know, during those moments, you know, when he is struggling, it makes you wonder, like, what is Ohio State seeing, and what is Ryan Day and Corey Dennis seeing in practice that we're not, that he's so convinced that Stroud is the guy. And if this is what we're seeing or what they're seeing in practice, then I mean, then he's made the right decision.
Yeah, I totally agree from that standpoint, because every time I've had a chance to see Kyle McCord, I've just kind of felt like, man, I love this kid's arm. I love his upside, his potential. You know, he came into things as an early enrollee with CJ and Jack having played so little last year. I didn't think Kyle was that far behind when he got on campus, and he clearly made it a heck of a quarterback battle. I thought after McCord's bad series last week, he settled in and looked really good in the first half. You know, I'm not going to necessarily hold Kyle or Jack's feet to the fire for their performance this afternoon, because I thought the whole second half was a little bit flat. It's got to be hard to maintain your focus when you're up 45-6 at halftime against an opponent you expected to blow out. You know, it's almost like the halftime break lets the air out of the balloon a little bit. And the Buckeyes played fine, but the nature and the play calling of what they wanted to do offensively changed a bit in the second half. So, you know, I realize those reps are valuable, and that's your body of work. But I'm not going to get frustrated by what I saw from Kyle McCord or Jack Miller in the second half of the game. But instead, you know, point out the fact that C.J. Stroud's final numbers were 17 of 23 for 330 yards and 5 touchdowns. They scored on every offensive possession that he was in the game, had 6 offensive touchdowns and a field goal, and then obviously had the defensive touchdown as well. Look, he was composed. He had great poise in the pocket. The line kept him clean. And he said post-game, hey, man, I felt like I could let it rip a little bit, and I feel like my shoulder was going to fall off. You know, the week was good for him physically as well as mentally, and it showed today. And I hope this is the kind of quarterback play we can get used to seeing now for the Buckeyes the rest of the year.
Well, I think that that's a really big key too. And you know, to take a step back and look at it from him having a week off of practice, and you know, you might not necessarily be able to heal from whatever your injury is, but I think that just going through those mental reps and knowing that you're okay, like he, you know, there was a time where he tucked the ball and ran with it, and it was kind of one of those things that it was like that element of Ohio State's offense has kind of been missing the last couple of weeks, and I think, you know, looking back on it, maybe that has to do with his shoulder as well. Like, you know, you're not going to be more apt to tuck the ball and run if you think that you're going to get injured. So, you know, if he's feeling better, you know, both physically and mentally, that's only going to, you know, translate to the field.
I totally agree. Watching him run on that particular play made me feel like, okay, he's got the confidence. And not only did he run, he didn't slide, he dove forward. And it to me, there's just no hesitation there with that injury. So again, whatever he had to do this past week to get right, I'm glad he did it.